Ryan, you have the #1 total offense, #1 scoring offense in the country, but when you analyze it, is there like an area of the offense where you think we can get even better at this, or we really need to get better at this, or do you feel like, hey, we're clicking on all cylinders right now?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that we need to continually improve on for sure. And it's a focus on execution during the week. We come out in the second half and kind of take a sack early on, don't execute that play. Had an opportunity for a big play there, and then go 3 and out. And there's things that we got to make sure that we lock in on, and still a lot to grow from. And as you start to play against better and better defenses, the issues are going to continue to emerge, and the issues are always there. It's the coach's job to identify them, to get out in front of them, and that's what we're focused on this week, is continuing to get better on execution and playing really hard in this game, because we're playing against one of the better defenses in the country.
This is kind of out of left field, but what are your thoughts on college football's overtime rules? I mean, Penn State and Illinois just played in the 9 overtime game. Do you like the overtime rules? Do you not like them? Are you indifferent? Like, where are you at on that?
That was the first time that I've seen anything like that, for sure. I think it's all of us we're in that same boat. We're too sure what to think of it all, but I know that the long overtime game that happened a few years ago, it seemed like it just went on too long, and the guys were a little bit at risk there. So this was certainly a new experience. I don't think that's what they expected when they put the rule in there, but so I guess the only thing I thought about is I better have more 2-point plays ready to go.
Ryan, when you had a chance to look at the film and watch CJ's throw to Jackson where he puts it between 3 defenders, what'd you make of that, kind of looking at it again on replay?
No, I mean, I thought that the route was run correctly, and the timing was good. We call that a 1-inch throw. We throw the ball right over the baseball net, and he delivered on that throw. I mean, that was a big-time throw, and there's times to take those shots, and there's times where you got to understand when to maybe just check the ball down. But he was decisive, and he delivered the ball, and was well done.
Does that kind of show the confidence that he's playing with? Because I imagine to thread a needle like that, you have to be pretty confident as a quarterback.
Yeah, I do. I think so. But that's kind of we've talked for a little while about when you play against better defenses. There's not a lot of guys who are open. That's kind of how it goes. And as we start to play more and more of these teams, guys are less and less open, and that's part of playing really good, playing well at quarterback. But to your point, in order to make throws like that, you got to feel confident about it. But that goes back to practice. If we're practicing like that on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and he's already body repped it, then you have more confidence in a game because the picture looks like it did during the week.
I just want to ask quickly about the status of Master and Marcus Crawley.
Yeah, but Marcus is going to be out for a long time. It's a long-term injury, and certainly prayers go out to him. And it was something that happened during the bye week, and he's working towards recovery, but it's going to be a long road for him. Master will hope to get back this week.
Third row left, Dan Holt, 11 Warriors.
Yeah, Ryan, just to follow up on that, in terms of your running back depth, how do you feel about where your running back depth is right now?
Yeah, I mean, for this point of the year, we're doing okay. It's part of the game. You're going to have some guys who get bumped and bruised along the way. You're going to lose some guys, but I was excited to see Mayan get back out there, and it was good to see Evan. I thought Evan had some good snaps there. So you get Master back, and now you feel like you have 4 going into this game.
Was Mayan good when he left the game the other day? It looked like maybe on TV he was favoring something.
Yeah, I mean he'll be practicing today. Yeah, in games sometimes you get battered. I mean it's a rough, tough game, and there's a lot of things that happen. But expect them to practice this week.
Second row right, Austin Ward, Letterman Row.
These injuries and things that you talked about with the running backs, Ryan, how challenging has it been from week to week to get a feel for who you're going to have, how you're going to hand out the carries? It seems like it's just been a revolving door there.
Yeah, a little bit, but that's part of college football. I think different teams across the country deal with the same thing, and we know that it's going to be unexpected. That's what we talk about to our players all the time. You just don't know what's going to happen, and that's why you have to recruit depth, and guys got to understand their opportunity is going to come if they just continue to work, and because it's a rough game, and guys get injured, and you have to be able to adapt with that. And but I think Tony's done a really good job with his room.
What is it like for you on the field, on the sideline, to watch Travion when he gets rolling? It seems like trying to arm tackle him would be a bad idea.
Well, it's everybody, but he's running hard, and but our offensive line is making holes for him, and the tight ends are doing their job, and wide receivers did a good job blocking on some of those runs as well. So, I mean, it's everybody involved, but it's good when you see them get in a rhythm. But the big thing, to me with those guys is taking care of the football. And we have to continue to work on that and keeping our pads down. And it's all the little things that are going to be important as we play, some of these matchup games.
Third row middle, Doug Lambrese, Cleveland.com.
Ryan, what is your blocking success at the moment in terms of, it just feels like a lot of times if your guys are running a screen, or whether it's your receivers on the outside or an offensive lineman supposed to get a linebacker at the second level, it seems like you guys make the block a lot. And sometimes, you watch other teams, it's like, hey, you drew up the play pretty well, but that guy missed his block and it got blown up. Are you guys doing that pretty well right now?
Well, I think it goes back to what we talked about with execution, and I think sometimes we say things and it sounds like coach talk, but that's something we're taking a lot of pride in. We want to have great energy, we want to have great execution, we want to have great toughness, and we want to have great discipline. Those are the four things that we've been talking about here coming out of the bye week, and execution is important. Execution fuels emotion, and it's something that if you love the game of football, you're constantly trying to figure out that the game of chess of football is, for instance, with the offensive line, what are the calls? How are they going to attack us? What is the line movements? What kind of technique are they using? Are they two gappers? Are they penetrators? Is it a 3-down front? Is it a 4-down front? Am I going to get help? Do I need help on this block, or can I get up to the second level to make that block? Where is the running back in proximity to my block? Like, all those things are things that we have to continually work on, and it takes a lot of work. It's not just the physical part, it's the mental part. And I think that we've been doing a very good job of that. We need to continue to build on that. But I think that's what you're seeing is guys who are, and again, it goes back to practice. If you're doing it in practice and you've physically done it, when you go into a game, you feel more confident. So today's a big day for us.
And when you are playing a great defense that specifically has a couple great defensive players, how aware are you of, we got to make sure we control that guy, whether you talk about it, with what you scheme up during the week? I guess I'm asking, Micah McFadden, I thought, is one of the best linebackers in the Big Ten, and it felt like there were times last week when he would read some stuff and maybe be somewhere, and then you guys blocked it. I think on the screen touchdown to Travion, Ruckert went right to him and took him out of the play, and that was it. How aware are you of great defensive players on the other team?
Yeah, we're very aware. Our personnel conversations are very significant in trying to figure that part of it out. And you want to always give your guys the best chance to be successful. But at the end of the day, Ruckert has to make that block. If he doesn't make that block, it doesn't matter. But anytime you're calling a play or running a play, you want to put your guys in an advantageous situation. And whether it's personnel, leverage, whatever it might be, and matchups, as you start to get into some of these, really good defenses are important. Is that a good matchup for us? And you can't always project that correctly, but you try to play tendencies. This is a game of tendencies, and the more times that you're putting your guys based on tendencies in a good situation, then you're doing your job.
Over here far right, Tom Sperry, WBNS.
Coach, as you look at their defense, what jumps out? We thought this would be a heck of a battle a couple weeks ago. Is any of the luster off it?
Well, I think the defense has played well. I mean, they really only gave up 10 points again last week, and I think they're averaging 14 points a game giving up. So it's a very good defense. Brent Pry's an excellent defensive coordinator, has been for a long time. They have a very good scheme, very good players. I think when you look at their front, they're very active. The linebackers are very good. And their back end is veteran now. They played a lot of football. So, they're one of the better defenses in the country, in my opinion. And there's a lot that goes into that. I think it's scheme. I think it's coaching, but they have really good personnel as well.
You've said in the past you didn't know for sure what to expect this year. Is your offense where you thought it would be at this point in the season? And how much better how much room for improvement is there, I guess?
Well, I think every week is a new challenge. I think of every week is like a whole season. You just don't know how the game is going to play out based on matchups, based on scheme, based on weather, based on how either side of the ball is playing. There's just so many different things that come into play, and try not to go into each game with any expectations other than just execute at a high level and take it one play at a time. Prepare the best we can during the week and go into the game try to go from there. But listen, there's going to be roadblocks along the way. There's going to be bumpy times here as we head into this game. This is a very, very good defense, and so we have to just sustain when things don't go as well as they have the last couple of weeks. But that being said, every time we get on the field, we're trying to score. I mean, that's obviously what we're trying to do, and we just got to stay humble on this thing, but also continue to build confidence.
Second row left, Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
Ryan, these types of games obviously mostly classified as a big recruiting weekend, and I know you guys don't put down much emphasis in it, but is there things you want recruits to take from this weekend when you got so many people here?
Yeah, well, I think it gives everybody an opportunity to see what a big-time college atmosphere is like, and obviously what Buckeye Nation's like, and playing a primetime game, and that's why you come to Ohio State, is to playing games like this, and we want recruits to embrace that. We want the guys who want to play in these type of games to come here, and so when they're able to see it with their own eyes, it's a lot different than seeing it on TV.
You've got commits who are maybe overly enthusiastic about the peer recruiting part of this. Is this where they can maybe do their best work at?
Yeah, no, it's great, and I think that's really picked up steam the last 3 to 4 years. Is the peer recruiting and guys building relationships before they even get here. But they've been excited for this game for a while. The recruits, they've been talking about this, and they have their red outfits ready to go, so it's going to be good.
Fourth row left, Colin Gay, Rivals.
Hey Ryan, you've mentioned a lot about kind of steadiness with CJ, not riding the roller coaster. Is that something, as you guys get officially into Penn State week, that you find yourself having to remind him more of because of kind of the gravity of this game?
I just think that you just, like any week, you talk to him about what to expect. What are the situations, what are the conditions, all those things, and that's part of coaching. But yeah, I mean, this game will be a little bit different. It's going to be electric. It's going to be at home. We're playing against a really tough physical defense that is one of the better defenses in the country. And in a matchup game, you got to learn to play a little field position football and those type of things, and being smart and all the things that have got him to this point. But at the same time, I mean, he's got to go, do what he's done the last couple of weeks, and that's go out there and play with confidence, prepare at a high level, and lead his team.
I also wanted to ask about the defensive line. How have you seen the dynamic of that room change, especially as you've seen younger guys come along and then seeing some of the older guys kind of get back to what you've been used to seeing from them?
Yeah, well, we're getting some of the older guys back, which is good, and they're starting to really show up, which is great. And then the younger guys who kind of early on had to play, kind of forced into some roles that now there's real depth there. So I think that room's coming around. They're again, you can see some energy there. You see them with good pad level, and now they're producing as well. So again, a bigger challenge this week, but you're seeing a lot of progress.
Fourth row middle, Patrick Murphy, 24/7.
Ryan, I asked you a couple weeks ago about the challenges of this second half of the season, and obviously you guys handled Indiana fine, but as you've said a couple times today, this is the big one thus far. What is the approach this week? How much does practice change? Does it not change? What's different when you are facing a team like Penn State that brings what they bring?
Just the opponent, and our standard is not going to change, but we also know what's in store, and so we've got to utilize every minute of the week. That's what's important. When you're playing in big games, no stones unturned, and everybody's got to utilize every minute of the day. You can't waste a rep, can't waste a minute in meetings. You got to be efficient as a coach. Players need to get their rest. All those things. And but other than that, I mean, we're going to do practice the way we've done practice still, since week one, and that's the best way we know to prep.
And there seems to be a perception, Penn State not in the top 10 anymore, 2 losses. You don't seem to have that approach, that this is any different than maybe how people were looking at it a few weeks ago.
No.
Why is Penn State still as good as you thought they were, even though they've lost twice?
Well, when you look at the games that we've had with them in the past, they're always a dogfight. That's just the way it's been, and I know it's going to be that way. They have a lot of pride. They're a very good program. Coach Franklin does a very good job. I got a lot of respect for the 2 coordinators, Brent Pry and obviously Mike Yursich, who we know well. I mean, they're one of the best programs in the country, and so it's hard to beat these type of teams. And we know when Penn State comes into town, we got to be on our game, and this is going to be one of those games. It's going to be physical, back and forth, and we got to start fast and be ready to play for 4 quarters.
Second row right, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Ryan,
Give me what you think of the state of the defense right now. Obviously, you made the change a while ago. There's been improvement. How much improvement has there been? How championship caliber is this right now?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, we're kind of taking it week to week, but you are seeing, first off, some guys fit into some roles that, wasn't there a month ago. And I think we all recognize kind of who guys are, who the starters are, who some of the guys who are rolling at different positions, and guys are producing. And I think there's a lot of confidence there. I think the way that we're preparing on a week-to-week basis with the defensive staff has been solid and efficient. Again, bigger challenge coming, bigger challenges coming, but again, the goal for them is to identify the issues before they emerge and get them addressed. And there's certainly always issues to work on.
There's a lot of talk about going with more of a two-safety look. You also did something with the boundary and field, right? What did you change there?
Yeah, just having the ability to line up a couple different ways. One, to the formation, and two, to the field and boundary. And those are just different ways to give the defense a different look. And those guys have long conversations about, again, what's best schematically for our players, but then what also challenges the defense. For the offense.
Second row middle, Nathan Barrett, Cleveland.com.
Yeah, last two teams you've played, I think we're missing all their starting cornerbacks or most of them. When you look at, besides just being veteran, you look at Penn State's secondary, what's there that's going to challenge your receivers and CJ more this week?
Yeah, well, Castro Fields has played for a long time, very good player, veteran, understands that style of defense. I feel like over the years they've had a lot of corners who have played in that style of defense for a long time. He's one of them. Porter played against us last year, very long, very athletic. Again, does a good job in their defense. I think Brisker is one of the better safeties that we've played against this year. He's physical in the box. He's athletic. He runs around. I just think across the board, they're athletic back there, and it allows them to run some different schemes. They can man you up. They can zone you up. They can do a couple different things, and they do a lot of pressuring now, and they're aggressive with that. And I know they'll continue to do that in our game.
Last year, Dotson had a big game against you guys. Is that something that Denzel is prepared for, to be part of taking that away? And do you kind of look forward to seeing, I guess, how he rises to probably a bigger kind of challenge than he might have faced yet this year?
Yeah, I think Dotson's one of the better wide receivers in the country, and we got to know where he is at all times. They're going to try to find ways to get him the ball for sure. And so, however we go about doing that, that's part of the schematic stuff that we'll work on this week. But, we have to know exactly where he is.
Second row left, Griffin Straub, Lebanon Warriors.
Yeah, Coach, I know Julian had been dealing with some injury issues, but he did not get in this week despite seemingly being available for the game. Is he still working through some things?
Yeah, we're expecting a full week of work this week. He was available in emergency role last week, but we just didn't think it was the right thing to do. But we're expecting to practice this week and be available for the game on Saturday and play.
And then with Marvin grading out as a champion this week, what did you like out of him, aside from the causing the safety on special teams, but his receiving work as well?
Well, it starts with special teams. I think his attitude has been excellent on kickoff return, on punt return, and that's where it starts. He and Emeka both have been very, very good on special teams, and that it just translates over to playing on offense and defense. But I was impressed with the catch he caught over the middle, where he got smacked after catching the 5-step slant. And showed some toughness there. Obviously with the play he made on the safety, he caught another ball. So he's got a very, very bright future.
Right next door, Bill Landis, The Athletic.
Ryan, when you guys were, I guess, assessing some of the defensive changes you wanted to make, I realize as coaches you have a lot of experience. Maybe it's not new to you, but for your players, like how much of what you're doing now was stuff that you had maybe worked on in the offseason as a consideration for a changeup, and how much of it was totally new to them when you came in to meet after the Oregon game?
Yeah, a little bit of both. Yeah, I wouldn't say that we came in and it was like out of left field. And some things maybe we toyed with the year before. But so many of our guys were so young that they were just trying to get lined up in the spring and the preseason. So I think we've done a good job of changing it but not overwhelming them. And we have to continue to do that.
I think any kind of change really, yours seems somewhat substantial, can kind of go awry, I think, on you if it cannot go the right way. But it seems to have gone pretty well for you guys. I don't know, what does it say about your players, I guess, they kind of taken to that and have not
shown any real kind of breakdowns as you're trying to transition to a different style of defense?
Well, and I met with those guys right after the Oregon game and just talked to them about that there needs to be ownership across the board. If this thing's going to work, everyone has to take individual ownership and then unit ownership. And, we're going to do everything we can to try to come up with some schemes to put you in a better position. But at the end of the day, we all have to own it. As the head coach, I got to own it, and then individually the players have to own it. And it's the coach's job to put them in the best schematic advantage possible. And that's what we're going to do week in and week out. But I think maybe what you're seeing is that ownership. Like, okay, we got to own this thing. We got to make it work, because that's when you have really good defense.
Right behind you, Jacob Benji of the Lander.
Yeah, hey Ryan, just touching more on Marvin Harrison. How have you seen him learn from guys like Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, guys who kind of similar to him came in highly touted, and with Marvin, he's got a father who probably gives him advice just when he needs. Just have you seen him just take the advice and kind of apply it?
Well, I think, like you said, he comes from a background where he understands what working is. He had a pretty high football IQ when he came in, but I think being around some of those guys has allowed him some perspective of guys who are playing at a high level and what he strives to be. But I've been very impressed with the way he's kind of come about every day in practice. He works hard. He shows up every day. He's got a great attitude, and he's shown toughness in games. I'm really excited about his future, and I think he's going to help us here down the stretch.
Ryan, you mentioned that you don't go into games with expectations, don't go into a season with expectations. Where does that come from? Is that advice you got from mentors?
I don't know. I just think that over the years, when you do that, you get yourself out of whack. You start to think something's going to happen, and you can't do that. You can't make any assumptions. You can't take anything for granted. And that's just the way this game is. And the minute you start to do things like that, this game will catch you. You have to stay humble. You have to, continually focus on those little things, not expect anything other than, great effort and, obviously focusing on those type of things. But other than that, you just don't know what to expect on a daily basis. And that's what, you've seen that this year in college football. Anything can happen on any given Saturday. So, having that kind of white belt mentality, where you show up every day and you're just focus on the little things and you continue to build that up as the week goes on. Something that I think works.
And then CJ, are you asking more of him than you did Justin and Dwayne at the same point in their starting careers?
I guess different things, probably. Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to think about where he's at compared to where they were at their time. I think the one thing he didn't have that Dwayne had was those couple years where Dwayne was here. CJ, last year really didn't get all of that work. I guess Justin was in that same boat, but we kind of asked him to do some different things maybe his first year there. So probably not more or less, probably just different things.
Far right, Clay Hall, WSY-X. Did I call you once already, Clay?
No, sir.
Okay, Clay Hall.
You're not scheduled to play Cincinnati, but you might be down the road. Have you noticed what they're up to, and are they deserving of their status?
I know Luke Fickell does an unbelievable job, and they've done a great job and had some good wins. So, first off, there's some Ohio State guys down there, so we pull for them. And being from the state of Ohio, we pull for them. But proud of the season they're having, and I'm just happy for them.
Right, Clay, as many as 4 ranked teams down the stretch here, and you, I guess, touched on it a little bit. How do you keep the blinders on?
Well, you just turn on college football on any given Saturday, and you just watch it, and I think our guys know that. First off, we've already lost a game, so we know what that's like if we don't bring it, and how it can come down to 1 or 2 plays. We don't have to just say that to our guys. They've lived it, and they understand what the consequences are. So I think we have our attention there. I think our guys understand that. They're a little scarred and calloused from that, which is a good thing. But like you said, we got to stay humble, and we got to stay on it, and we can't let little things slip. Because, if we continually stay locked in on this thing, that gives us our best chance to win. And it's all about winning this game on Saturday night. It's going to be hard. And we got to show up, and we got to play, all the way 4 quarters.
Deep back right, Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row.
Ryan, it hasn't really mattered because you guys have been blowing teams out, but it seems like the first drive of each game, the defense gives up a few chunk plays and then doesn't give up anything from there. I know that some of that is scheming and having scripts from the offense, but how do you kind of try to remedy that, and do you think that could be a concern down the road?
I mean, I hope not, but you're right. I mean, there's been a couple of those drives where they've schemed up a couple of things early on and caught us. I think the good news is we made adjustments to get them fixed, but yeah, you got to be ready for those things because the offensive guys try to come up with things that really put stress on a defense, especially early in the game and on that first drive to try to set a tone. And so, we got to have a good plan for that.
You see the production from your defensive line go from each guy just has one tackle for loss or one sack. Is that encouraging to know that everybody's getting in on it and you can just continue to roll guys as the season progresses?
Well, I think it keeps some good synergy in that room and good unit, harmony because guys are all playing and they're in there and they're all part of it. So, and they all understand it's a long season and it's a physical season and this stretch we're about to go on, we're going to need them all. So, I think that's Larry's been doing an excellent job with that.
Far left, Brendan Gulick, Buckeyes Now on SI.
Coach, you made it very clear early in the year and during the beginning of this season how critical it was going to be for you to develop depth. You talked a lot about how hard it was for you last year because you didn't have those games and those chances. In terms of your building that here through the first 7 games of the year, are you happy? Do you want to see more? Are you pleased with where that part of things are at?
Well, I'm just happy that we've had an opportunity to get guys out there and get those reps and play, and it keeps everybody moving in the program when they're out there playing, and it's developing your youth for the future, and that's really good. And when I say future, it might be this week, it might be in 2 weeks, it might be next year. You don't know, but that's part of being a team. And anytime you get those guys out there, you can coach them, you can get on the film with them. And we were coaching those guys in the fourth quarter like it was an even score. I think that's what you need, and that's what we missed last year. So hopefully, again, it pays dividends down the road.
Felt like Travion early in the year needed to work a bit more on his pass protection. Obviously, the running part of his game has exploded onto the scene. Are you happy with the steps he's made in pass protection?
Yeah, I think that he and Mayan, Master, they've been solid. Evan missed one the other day, but then came back and did a good job on the play to Cade Stover. So I think it's going to be harder and harder. Penn State will be blitzing us and coming after us, and so we got to do a great job in protection because that's a big part of the passing game is making sure that the quarterback is clean.
Over here to the far right, Adam King, WBNS TV.
You talked about kind of the scars from the Oregon game. Just curious, what's the biggest difference you see in the locker room, maybe from an undefeated team the last 2 seasons to kind of this team that has suffered a loss?
I don't know. Because you just don't know what's coming next. So you just continually work it week in and week out. Again, I think that our guys have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly already, even at this point of the season, which is a good thing. We're still young. We're still figuring it all out. But you're seeing a lot of guys build confidence, and it's tangible. I mean, you can grab onto it. You can feel it. But there's still a lot that comes with that. And the focus just has to be on execution, toughness, discipline, playing with great energy. And if we continually do that, don't let any of these other distractions get in our way, because that's the other part of it. When you lose, you can't let the noise kind of affect you. Well, it's the same thing when you start to pick up some wins here and you play well. A lot of people saying how well we're playing. Well, we have to ignore that noise as well and just stay locked in on what's important right now, and that's a great Tuesday practice.
Wrapping up here real quickly here. Fourth row right, Zachary Carpenter, Letterman row.
Ryan, you have a receiver committed in the 22 class and a primary target in the 23 class, both similar body types, like 5'9", 5'10", similar playing styles, explosive, looks like they could fit in the slot mostly. Is that philosophy for you and Brian going forward to try and bring in a body type like that, playing style like that, specifically like one of those receivers in each class?
If they're available, like we won't just fit somebody into that role just because we need somebody in that role, if that makes sense. Like we're going to try to find the best available. Now they have to be in certain specifications, but we know how to adapt, and I think that's something that we're proud of here on offense. Is that based on who we have, we've been able to put those guys in the right position, and that's what coaching is, But when you have a great one who's built a certain way, you want him to be a Buckeye, and you'll figure out ways to get him the ball and how to adapt from there, within reason. Within reason.
And then with offensive tackle recruiting, past couple cycles, you've had misses on a couple high-profile five-star guys, and wound up taking a couple of developmental type guys in the past two classes. And you said last week, you kind of have to be careful about how many developmental guys you take, especially that position. How do you feel about offensive tackle recruiting? Has it met your standard, or do you guys need more of that going forward?
Well, I think when you look at the way our tackles are right now and what we have in the program, I've been very impressed with the way that our tackles have played. And that's really the true gauge, right? You have some guys who are right now with us, Thayer Munford, DeJuan Jones, I could probably name a couple other that weren't highly recruited, but they were developed and they're playing at a high level now. And then you have some other guys who were recruited, who were really highly recruited that maybe didn't work out. So at the bottom line is finding the right fit for Ohio State and what we do, and then developing them at high level. And then what is the ultimate evaluation, how they play when they're here. So to me, it's more about where are we at right now. Like, let's evaluate Nick Petit-Frere, DeJuan Jones, Thayer Munford, Paris Johnson, all those guys in our program. When you grab a guy and you say, okay, this is the guy we want, how are you going to develop him? What's he going to look like in 3 to 4 years? And to me, that's the most important thing, not how many stars they have.
And finally, we'll wrap up with third row right, Tim May, Letterman row.
Ryan, I looked out there on Saturday night and I go, well, that's a new formation, and then I realized you guys were in a huddle. Is it and obviously, it was obvious what y'all did from there with that. Who brought that up? Who brings that up in do y'all do that on Sunday? You decide you're going to throw a little something new wrinkle in every week. How does that work as far as going into a game? Like the out formation a few weeks ago, et cetera.
Yeah, you guys get excited about like the QB sneaks and the fullback and the huddle. Yeah, all that stuff. It's good. It's just, if we think that it gives us something, we'll do it, and we just have constant conversations about what we think is best that week and why, and we do that in the off season. We'll do that. We start really every team period. We'll huddle together, and CJ will call it in the huddle so that they can hear it, because that's different than seeing a signal. When you live in that world of seeing signals, then you actually verbally hear it. There's two different things there. So we try to do that and work on that in the spring and in the preseason, and then we try to start every drill with that, where they actually hear the call, so that if we decide to use huddle in a game, there's no real problem there.
And you talked a while ago about the defense and the adjustment. I asked you a couple of weeks ago about the way how much you like the prep work that's going in with this team during the week and stuff, or the adjustments that they're making defensively clearly from the first possession on. Is that an offshoot of what you're seeing during the week?
I think so. I hope so. I mean, the proof's still yet to be seen, but I see that. I see guys who like football, who care about the details, who are talking football. Again, you go do bed check, and they're working on their tips in their test. And at a walkthrough, guys are locked in. We went to a special teams walkthrough the morning of the game, and I've never seen guys more energized and just sharp. And it's like they were literally in the game. I mean, they had bent knees. They were sweating after the walkthrough. And I walked out of that walkthrough saying, we're going to have a heck of a night, because that's what you need if you want to play at a high level of college football. You can't just show up. You got to take all that seriously, because if you've already played it once in your head, if you prepared so well, then you can play with great confidence and anticipation. And so that's what we're chasing.
And one other quickie, with CJ, obviously he fit a few throws in there the other night that were really nice. Is there a fine line between being confident and cocky with a quarterback? Do you have to watch that with a young quarterback?
Well, I think confidence is very important. But like you can't ride the roller coaster. You have to stay disciplined. You have to trust your eyes, and you can't test your limitations in a game. Maybe sometimes in practice, which isn't a bad thing, but certainly not when it comes to game. You got to be smart, and you got to stay disciplined, and you got to take care of the football. And then based on the situation, there's times, whether it's a third down and you got to have it, or a fourth down, or a 2-point play, where maybe you can take a little bit of a chance. But that's all part of that growing process that we talk about all the time. But staying disciplined and making sure you take care of the football is critical.